Welcome to Upstate Impact, the podcast that explores the stories of business owners, leaders, and influential figures shaping upstate New York. Each episode uncovers their path, the challenges they've faced, and the impact they're making in their industries and communities. And now, your host, Luke Cometti.
Shellie, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. This is fun.
Of course. It's funny, every time I have someone on that I've never met before, we have a few minutes while we're getting set up, and I try to make small talk, but I try not to get into it too much because sometimes we'll start talking, I'm like, wait, no, save that for the podcast. So, I apologize if it's a little awkward in the beginning, but super excited to talk to you and just find out what you're doing with SaltCity Holistic Health, a topic that really fascinates me and that I'm very into, and family members, my wife, and just, ways of bettering your health. So happy to dive into it, but I guess let's start. Just give me a little background. I don't really know much about you at all. So
yeah, it's exciting. You get somebody in this room and they're passionate about what they do. So they just blah. They
yeah.
spit it all out,
Exactly.
right? So you're like, whoa, put a top on it for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm the owner and founder of SaltCity Holistic Health, and we are a medical practice downtown in Armory Square, but we are a functional medicine and integrative medicine, style boutique wellness center. So those are a lot of words. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It means I'm a nurse practitioner. I have a wide variety of experience. I've worked in critical care, which is ICU medicine in the hospital. I've worked in cardiology. I've worked in urgent care for a long time, and also pediatrics. And so with that diverse background, and I feel like everybody still kind of talks about COVID being a pivotal point in their life. With COVID, that kind of turned my outlook on what medicine and medical care should look like. And it didn't feel really good being sort of Band-Aid medicine, or just like this knee-jerk reaction towards medicine. I wanted to create a space where wellness is at the forefront. And so that's what SaltCity Holistic Health is. So we're a medical practice, and we have all of the things that you need to make yourself and your body the healthiest it can be.
Do you have to register to be a medical practice? How does that work? Like to call yourself a medical practice as opposed to just, a wellness center?
Yeah. So I guess we're kind of blurring the lines there, but yes, I am a nurse practitioner. I have a medical degree and I have a PLLC. So that is a corporation from the professional background. My traditional name would be Shellie Rizza Family Health, PLLC, but then my business name would be SaltCity Holistic Health. So yeah, good question.
Seems like COVID sparked a lot of people to really consider their health and what they're doing every day, whether it be for longevity or, God forbid, another pandemic, right? What situation am I in? What's my body's reaction going to be? God forbid another virus were to come out. And it's funny. I feel like it sparked a lot of things for people. A lot of the people I talked to on here are like, well, it kind of started during COVID. I really was able to look at what I wanted to do and started to follow my passion, but especially around health. And like I mentioned, it's been something for me and my family that it's just like, now that I have kids, what are things I can pass on? What are things I can do while they're young to set them up for success? Because I feel like having your health is obviously important, number one, probably, and then everything falls after that. So started during COVID. I assumed you said you were working at a hospital. What was the first step? You're like, hey, I want to go beyond this. I want to find something that's not going to just address an issue. It's going to be help almost preventative for anyone who has something that were to come up in the future. Tell me a little bit about how that started. Yeah,
so I was actually working in urgent care, so busy urgent care setting. We were seeing, per provider, 60, 80 patients a day. So if you double the provider, you double the patients. So very, very busy. And all of these folks, they really wanted the best treatment and they wanted to be the healthiest they could be. Unfortunately, time was not on their side because each visit with an urgent care patient, can take anywhere 5 to 15 minutes. So you don't have a lot of time. So you don't know the person. You're treating the symptoms at that time. So I kind of wanted to do a full flip and say, I want to know my patients. I want to know when I meet them in the store, they're walking through Wegmans, like, oh, this person's dog's name is butch, like, and they have 2 kids. Like, I want to know them. I want to go back to old time medicine where we really knew our provider and we were very connected to health.
Yeah. Knowing the person is huge. And I've experienced that even when we were trying to select a pediatrician. It was like, sometimes you go places and you see a new doctor every time, or they're in 10 minutes in and out. And, we're very fortunate to find someone who I feel like starting to get to know my kids are young, but really gets to know our kids, because that's huge. There's so much that goes into the wellness of someone, where obviously treating the symptoms can be important at times, but sometimes seeing the bigger picture is really where you're going to find the answer. So
exactly what you said. So making that connection. So you could have a runny nose, but is that allergies versus is that a virus? So when I see a patient for the first time, I see them for 2 hours. It's a 2-hour-long intake. And I really understand who they are, what a day in the life of Luke looks like, what time do you get up, what does your movement look like, what are you putting in your body, what are you putting on your body, what are your stressors, like you have a young family, you have a business that you're doing. How are you pooping? If you're a female, how are you menstruating? I want to know all of those things about you so that if you have an ailment, I can connect it to either something that's already been going on inside you, or we prevent something from happening in the future.
How does that work? Do you just set up a call? Do you have the patient come in? I assume you probably want to actually look at them, even just a visual helps.
Yeah.
So that 2 hours, would you say, hey, this is kind of an introductory meeting. We're going to dive through everything, be ready with answers?
Exactly. So it's in person. They do fill out a lot of stuff in through my electronic medical record first. So I really do have a good understanding of what they're coming in with. But it is in person. They sit on a nice comfy couch. I offer tea, water, we have snacks. So it really seems more of like a homey feel than like a doctor feel. And people really open up and we can get to the root cause of whatever their symptoms are, and treat them more effectively that way.
People walking through your door, is it usually, hey, I have this wrong with me, or, I'd like to get better at this? Or is it more like, I'm pretty good now, but I want to make sure I'm still pretty good in the future. So let's, get out ahead of a lot of this. What does your typical patient
look like? It's both. It's anything from somebody who's been exhausted through the regular medical field, like they've gone to their primary a couple of times. Maybe they've gone to a specialist. Let's just talk about gut health. They went to a GI doctor. The things that have been suggested aren't working. My optimal patient is somebody who's done a lot of research themselves, so then we can have a really good, intelligent conversation about what's going on. What have they read? What have they seen on TikTok or whatever? What can I debunk or what can I investigate more? But I've also had the folks that are like super, super healthy, and I'm like, what are you here for? And they're like, they just want validation, and they want a commitment to somebody to know that they're doing the right thing and they can continue to do it. So it's both.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so you have a lot of different services at your practice. How do you go from, hey, they just laid everything on me for 2 hours to, okay, we're going to start here. Maybe we're going to try this. Talk a little bit about that process. Like, how do you kind of take all that information, actually put a plan together for a patient?
Yeah, so it's just the 2 hours that we're face-to-face, but it probably takes me another hour after they leave to come up with a comprehensive wellness plan for them. Sometimes I'm ordering lab work, deep diving into some illnesses a little bit further. And then, if somebody has a physical body element, I can do x-rays and imaging just to investigate that further. So we are coming from a medical background.
Do you do that all in-house, or do you usually?
No, I send them out. I use the resources of the community. Yep. So they can go to the lab of their choice or St. Joe's Imaging or something like that.
You'll just be like, hey, go get an x-ray. Let me go.
Yep,
Let me
take a lab slip. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And then basically in the wellness plan, I kind of wanted it to be a one-stop shop. If I'm like, hey, Luke, you're so stressed. You need a massage. Let's get some yoga in. Maybe we need to really get that diaphragm moving because you're a runner, so some breath work. I wanted to be able to say, here's some tips and tricks for you, and we offer it for you. So like, here, take a free yoga class. See if you like it. Does it help you? Maybe some meditation for you. We have a physical therapist in-house. She sees patients Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. She's doing a great job getting people back on their feet and pain-free. We have a couple mental health therapists too. So they're seeing some of our trauma specialists, anxiety. Our community is full of stressed, burnt out bundles of, anxiety. So we're helping them out.
I feel like there's a lot of solutions to someone like that. You know, a lot of it, at least for me, that will work for exercise, things of that nature. But, you know, you can't just exercise. You got to make sure you're stretching so you don't get hurt, or else you're just going to be back to square one. Is a lot of it, all right, what is the patient going to actually do? Because I'm also a big believer in there's no such thing as a free lunch. You know, I think a lot of people, especially as we mentioned before, all right, let's treat the symptoms. What can you give me that I can take before work that's going to help my problem? And of course, there's some great medicine out there that actually can address that issue and with very low side effects. But at the same time, there's probably a lot of things you can do that's going to be healthier for you in the long run. But it might be a little extra work. It might be 20 more minutes in the morning to really do those stretches or to take that time to meditate, things of that nature. Do you ever like come across that where you're like, hey, you know, unless you're willing to do what it takes, there's not a whole lot that can be done?
Yeah, well, that's my bread and butter, though. People come to me because they want to change. So it's not as prescriptive as a doctor's office where I'm like, hey, you have to eat right and take this blood pressure pill. Some people are like, ugh. Or what does even eating right look like? What does that mean? Everything you buy in the store right now is so ultra processed. There's like hardly any nutrients in anything. So like, how do you say eat right and take this blood pressure pill? I teach them how to eat right. We do have a nutritionist that we refer to. So they, if somebody has difficulty finding those skills, we have somebody who can help them with that. But I really go through sleep, movement, nutrition, socialization. Play is a big one. Where do you find joy and creativity in your life under play? How are you pooping? And if you're menstruating, what does your cycle look like? And so I give them sort of a plan based on all 7 items. And I say, take 2 things. I don't want this to overwhelm you. Take 2 things from my whole wellness plan and start them tomorrow. If you can do those 2 things and you can keep doing those 2 things by the time I see you next, you've won, and we will build on it. I don't want somebody to look at the plan and be like, I can't do this. This is overwhelming.
It's 2 hours a day.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. So 2 things. All you have to do is 2 things.
That's a great approach. It's like a low barrier of entry. Hey, do these 2 things. Because also, exactly, people are like, oh, I'm going to work out 5 days a week for 2 hours. You know, as you know, it goes, they do it for a week, then they miss a day the next week. And in 3 weeks,
how long are you going to stick to that? Yeah.
It's got to be something that's sustainable.
It is. And for you. So if I was like, Luke, you got to go swim at the Y 3 days a week. And you're like, I don't swim. Why would you do that? Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So that's how I get to know you and know what you like. And it becomes a little bit more intuitive. Like if we're talking and you're like, oh yeah, I saw those pickleball courts and I see your eyes light up, I'm going to put pickleball in your plan. Like I know that that's something that you're interested in.
Sounds like you probably already have a plan for me.
I do. I'll write it down when we leave.
No, and yeah, obviously, you know, I think I'm a relatively healthy person, but usually a lot of times it's people who are healthy that are like, hey, I could always use a coach. And that comes from athletics. Sure. You know, I've played, for example, lacrosse at a high level, but there was always something a coach could teach me. And I think having someone that's just kind of looking at it a little more objectively, who can give you pointers here and there. You know, I was never someone who was like, you need to do this, this, and this. It's more of, I was always kind of asking for advice, or just, you know, someone who would be like, hey, if you do this, you know, it could work out better for you. And then I kind of take the initiative. I guess to that point, do you find people have different, you know, levels of receiving what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Do some people are like, oh, I'm going to do it tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. And some people are like, no, that's not it. Believe me. And you're like, all right, well, try it, you know, or like how do you address those issues?
Yeah, I have some of the most impressive patients on my roster. Like if I could do all of the things that these people are doing, I would be picture perfect health as well. But the reality is I have the same barriers that everybody else does. I mean, I brought this Stanley here today, but I am the worst water drinker in the world. I do not drink any. Like, I don't. And so that's very basic for me. Every day I'm trying to drink at least 1 Stanley, and I can't do it. So I understand where people are coming from.
They are pretty big.
They're big. I can't get it down. But yeah, there's some people who do all of the things and they get very quick results and they see it and they're like, how come I didn't know this sooner? And they stick with it. And then there's other people who it's a nice, slow, steady road and they don't see the changes right away. What happens is they might backslide a little bit and they feel sort of those symptoms creeping back in, and then they're like, oh, this is working. I do feel good because now I feel bad. So now I know what good feels like.
I personally have felt that with meditation.
Yes.
Because you read, every self-help, not every, but a lot of them say meditation is huge, and all these successful people, I'm like, I got to give this thing a go. And this was years ago. So I was like, I'm doing 20 minutes every morning. I started with an app, one of I think Headspace or one of the meditation apps. I've since gone off of it, but I started at maybe 10 minutes and 15, then 20. And I was very consistent. And it's kind of one of those things I think it's working. I don't really know. But then once you let it slide, then you realize oh my gosh, I'm checking my phone all the time. I can't focus on this paper. That's when you really notice the difference.
Yes.
And I was like, it just takes you, you have to go back a little to realize how, far you've come. You're just so used to it by the time you get there.
Yes.
So yeah, that makes great sense. I'm sure, you see that more often than not.
Oh, for sure. It takes one sleepless night to realize that you've been sleeping really good, right? Yeah. I made it all night without waking up, or, these people who are super stressed out, cortisol wakes you up around 2, 3 a.m. and the brain starts working and you're like, hey, it's not time to work now. I need to go to sleep. But once you've been sleeping really, really good and that happens again, you're like, okay, you do a quick body scan. What happened? What did I eat? What was I stressed out about? Maybe I consumed alcohol. Is it what triggered me to not sleep? And then you kind of file that so that to make that choice later on. I'm going to choose not to eat this big greasy pizza because I'm not going to sleep good tonight. Yeah.
Sleep is huge.
Sure is.
And I've been very fortunate. I struggled a little bit in my early 20s. I was, I don't know, I was coaching and whatever. I figured it out. Maybe it's a kid's tiring me out enough that I sleep pretty well now. But I just know so many people who struggle with sleep. Mm-hmm. More often than not, what do you find some of the reasons for people? Yeah, exactly. They'll fall asleep at 9, 10 o'clock, no problem. And then that 2, 3 o'clock rolls around and they're just wide awake. What usually causes that? And what are some things that people could maybe start tomorrow or today?
Yeah, stress is a huge one. So like you said with meditation, picking up one of those stress reduction techniques, one of my prescriptions is pick one Zen activity a day. I don't care which one it is. It could be yoga, meditation, just some stretching, doing a puzzle, reading a book. But down-regulating your nervous system is huge. Our perimenopausal population, so all of these women in their 40s, early 50s, going through sort of that change, they're not sleeping well either, and it's hormone imbalance. So honestly, checking hormones and doing something to balance out those hormones, getting them sleeping, and that's a light switch as well. I do give everybody informational tips on sleep, and it's all the stuff you've all heard of, and everybody knows them. There's no secret here. It's just you have to do them. And that's not scrolling on your phone before you go to sleep, not watching TV in your bed. Your bed is for sleep. Your body knows you sleep there, just like the bathroom is for pooping. You poop there. You don't poop on a sidewalk. You get the urge to poop when you're in the bathroom. So same thing. Making sure it's quiet, making sure there's not something in your bed that's disturbing you. Get the pets out of the bed or children out of the bed if that's your choice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those are all obviously great tips. And the biggest one, at least I know for me, is when sometimes hey, let me finish this real quick. I didn't have enough time during the day. Kids are asleep. It's 9 o'clock. Let me just bang this out real quick. And then you start getting into work mode. Yeah. And then boom, you're done 9:30. You go to lay down and go to sleep, and you're like, I'm wide awake.
You're all jazzed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've made obviously an emergency is an emergency, but I've made every effort I can to shut it down. Yeah. Right. Biggest thing I do is I walk my dogs at night, and I just, I used to listen to audiobooks, which, I love listening to audiobooks, but I'm like, I'm going to take the time. It's going to be quiet, right? It's usually around 8:30 at night. Walk the dogs. By the time I get back, get ready for bed, read a book, go to bed. And it's, it works for me, but I think a lot of it was I would try to get, I want to be productive, right? I want to get things done. I got a half hour here. I'm going to do it. But if you can't shut off, then, all of a sudden you're going to be up for another 2 hours. Mm-hmm. You're losing productivity the next day.
You
right?
are.
And that good night's sleep is everything.
Absolutely. The work is always there.
Yeah.
It'll always be there.
Today's episode of Upstate Impact is brought to you by Renewal by Andersen of Central New York, the window and door replacement company setting the standard for quality and craftsmanship. If you're looking for durability, energy efficiency, and expert installation, Renewal by Andersen delivers. Their exclusive Fibrex material combines the strength of wood with the low maintenance benefits of vinyl, providing a stronger, more beautiful, and longer-lasting solution for your home. With their signature service, every step, from design consultation to professional installation, is built around convenience, expertise, and long-term value. Their industry-leading process ensures a smart investment that enhances both comfort and style. Click the link in our show notes to set up a free quote today and take the first step towards transforming your home. Renewal by Andersen. Superior products, exceptional service. Talk about some of the other services. Massage is something that feels great. I think everyone who's gotten a massage, like, oh, that feels great. But it's expensive. And I haven't necessarily found, and maybe I have to come to SaltCity Holistic Health, I struggle with justifying the payment because it's like, yeah, it felt good, but like, can I pay $125 a week or, whatever is the normal recommendation? And maybe I'm seeing the wrong people. I don't know, but like, what should you get out of a massage that's like, hey, if this is happening for you after massage, then it's worth your money.
Sure. And massage is a great example because people go to massage for various reasons. Some people are going because they're athletic and they have muscle soreness and they really are having massage to loosen up those muscles and for stretching and that sort of thing. Some people are going for relaxation or stress reduction. I have that as a big rewards for people. So if you've done something consistently for 30 days, reward yourself with a massage. That's a big ticket item that you can reward yourself with, and you're going to pay yourself back not only with nervous system down regulation by getting into sort of that meditative state while you're getting massaged, but it's also human connection and touch. So some people are very socially isolated. They're single, they live alone, maybe they work alone, or maybe they work remotely and they don't have a big social outlet. So touch is a big thing for them. So just having physical touch really regulates their nervous system, and they have huge improvement that way. There's also, massage is used for a lot of things. I hear sometimes that people like to speak during a massage. So they're talking to their massage therapist. That's social connection too. And it's almost like a therapy session. So it's a 2-for-1. Yeah. So you're getting your therapy and your massage. Jen, our massage therapist, she's through Veda. She does intuitive massage. So her massage isn't the same every time. She really is figuring out what you personally need, what your body needs. And she asks the same questions I do. How are you sleeping? How are you eating? Are you stressed out right now? And she tailors her massage to what you either mentally need or physically need. And she adjusts.
I do notice that massage therapists do like a quick audit of, your back, for example. And all of a sudden they just start pushing out a spot. You're like, oh. It's amazing how quickly they're able to find, the sore spots.
Yep.
And, it's very interesting that you say even just the touch, right? Someone that's socially isolated who doesn't get that physical touch can be a lot. But when is a massage right for you? And when I say that, for a person, when would you be like, all right, maybe try a massage that may help?
Yeah, I'm for me, every day.
Yeah.
I would take it every day.
Well, I mean, any listener, hey, this may help you.
Yeah, I personally wish I was as structured as some of the clients that come to us, because they come in for a massage every month, and I wish I could treat my body that well. But yeah, a massage is right for any time. So other than Jen, we have Nicole too. And then we have Audrey on the weekend. So we have plenty of availability to give people massages. If you're feeling stressed out, a massage is right for you. If you are an athlete and you're working towards something and your body is stressed out, a massage is right for you. So physically or mentally, anytime.
I notice a lot of people who have back pain say, oh, I'm going to go to a chiropractor or a massage to try to help it. But at least what I've found personally is that something like yoga is really what kind of gets to the root, not only stretches, but strengthens. And it goes back to what I said before. There's no such thing as a free lunch. You can't just go to a chiropractor when you have all these back problems. I mean, maybe it works for some people. It just seems a little too good to be true. Whereas no, you need to sit through a half-hour yoga session, and it's going to kind of suck at times, right? But then all of a sudden you're going to feel amazing after. And after 2, 3, 4 weeks of doing that, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have a whole new back. And I tell so many people that, and they're like, oh, they just don't have time. Life gets in the way. But it's not the easy way out. So do you, when you're talking to someone, they're like, oh, I have terrible back pain. Where do you usually, do you send them to yoga more often than not, or?
Yeah, it depends after my exam, right? So if they don't have anything that's functionally wrong, meaning I did an exam or even an x-ray and there's nothing structurally wrong, any one of the disciplines of chiropractic, physical therapy, or yoga and massage, they're all a great treatment plan, and sometimes all together. So we have a chiropractor that we work very closely with, and he will do chiropractic, meaning adjustment. He also does massage. He also does cupping. He also gives you exercises to do after your visit so that you can stay strong. He probably recommends yoga as well because he recommended it for me. And I'll tell you how yoga has changed my life. I thought of yoga as something that was either a little bit more performative, because sometimes you'll see some of these gals who can do these really cool poses and you're like, wow, I really want to do that. So that I would call that more performative. But what I've gotten out of yoga the most is it's that movement meditation that happens. And I think I can only describe it to people if they're a runner. It's when you've been running for a while, it's on a long run, and all of a sudden you kind of zone out for a minute and you're like, oh, where am I? Or I didn't feel like I was dying for the last 10 minutes while I was running.
Runner's high.
Runner's high. Yeah. That's what yoga is for me. So you're moving through a flow with somebody guiding you, but then your brain kind of goes somewhere else and you have this meditative experience. Also the physicalness, I would get injured all the time running. So I have bad hips and knees and ankles. So that getting nice and strong and really strengthening the imbalances in my body. So maybe my right leg is tighter than my left and doing those things. And lastly, my husband, only because I have this studio, he's been doing yoga every day, or not every day, but like 3 times a week with us just because I make him. And now he can sit on the floor. He was a guy who couldn't even like sit on the floor comfortably at all because he's so stiff and tight. But now he's like, look, I can sit on the floor and I can just be comfortable existing.
Yeah, I noticed, and I think it's common in a lot of athletes, the crisscross applesauce can be pretty tough because hips tend to tighten up over the years of running. I also find a lot of people who say, yeah, you see some people do yoga and it's pretty impressive, some of the poses they can hold.
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone's like, well, I stink at it. And, my brother told me this. He's like, the worse you are at yoga, the more it helps you. So, if you kind of use that advice, I'm sure you would agree with it. It's like, you got to start somewhere.
I love that.
And there's
advice.
a lot of modified poses you can do. And it's just like anything, you chip away, all of a sudden in 2 weeks, you can do it sit a little deeper, go a little further. Before you know it, you're able to do a lot of it.
Absolutely.
So your husband's getting pretty into it, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Is there
he still hates it, but he still does it, and he loves the responses from it.
I feel like, and this is now I think changed a bit, but initially it was like yoga. Oh, you think of like strong, masculine man. I'm not going to go do yoga. Have you seen a lot of men come into your practice, or is it mostly women? I mean, like I said, it's probably just as important for the men who are probably the least flexible of all. But, do you have a lot of men, and do you invite men? Is it?
Yeah, it's diverse. And you'll see the men kind of go towards certain classes over other ones. They want a little bit more of a power yoga where they're getting some fitness out of it. We also created a broga class, which is male only. Yeah, because some men, I run with Lake Effect Run Club. And when we were doing yoga for Lake Effect Run Club, some of the guys there are like, hey, I'd love to do yoga, but I really feel uncomfortable sometimes with some of the women. And they can't move the way women can. Their bodies are just totally different. And so we created this class just for them.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and they love it. And so they come, and it's an augment to their running, and they really like it, and they get a lot out of it. So broga.
I may have to check it out. But I for someone who's worked out pretty hard in my life, doing different HIIT type workouts, kettlebells, all these things, sitting in a yoga stance for a minute. I mean, that's as hard as it gets, at least for me. It's not like, I can just run out and sprint through this. It's like you just got to sit there, and you got to sit deep in there, and you just feel it. And granted, a lot of times it's usually muscles I haven't worked because I do it more now, but I hadn't done it in the past, and it's just been super hard for me. So it's like, at least personally, anytime you get challenged like that, you're taking strides.
Yeah.
Right?
So
it's humbling, like I was saying.
Yeah. It's not only physical body, but it's mental health too, right? So how you treat yourself and how you talk to yourself in that very pose is how you're going to do that out in the real world. So if you can sit there and hold it and like, oh my gosh, I got this, I'm just going to breathe through it. And you can, kind of summon that calm energy, then you can use that later on in life. But if you're beating the crap out of yourself, like, oh, why can't I just stand here? Right? Because it happens. We're mean to ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
That gives you a chance to kind of change that narrative. And that's what your instructor helps you do. Like, breathe through this space, be nice to yourself. This is where we're building practice.
It really is all mental. I mean, whether it is a hard workout or a yoga class, it's really mental. The best part about yoga, at least for me too, is after a hard yoga session, and I forget the name of it, but when you lay on your back and you kind of just
Shavasana.
Shavasana. That's like when you just realize how good your body feels after doing that.
Yes.
You just lay there for a minute, 2 minutes, and you just don't move. You got your eyes closed. That's when you're like, oh, it was all worth it. Mm-hmm. So, anyone who's thinking of trying yoga, get to that point at least. Feel how you feel there, and then you're like, all right, I can see why people do this.
Yeah, and one more step is some of the yoga instructors will come around and drop just a little bit of essential oil in your hands. So, like, you breathe it in, and it's like the icing on the cake.
Ah, I've never had that. Mm-hmm. Nice. Another service I wanted to talk to you about was Reiki. I've heard of it. I don't know much about it. Can you give us a rundown of what that is?
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't really know what it was either. But when I opened SaltCity Holistic Health, I had a practitioner reach out to me and say, hey, I do energy work. I do Reiki. Can I come do that in your space? And I said, yes, the more the merrier. So SaltCity Holistic Health is a collective. We're a collaborative. So anybody who feels called to come and join us, that's how we have all the best people is, they're just pulled there. So she came and she's like, I would like to offer Reiki. And I had to say, I don't even really know what Reiki is.
Sure. What is it?
Yeah. And so she performed Reiki on me. So I got to experience it. And I was like, oh, okay. So I can see where this fits in with healing. And everybody heals differently, right? So this is just another modality for people to heal. And it's energy work. So you're laying on a table just like you would for a massage. And the practitioner puts their hands over their body and they feel energy kind of either stuck or moving. And I don't know exactly what they feel. You can ask them. But if they feel it stuck, they help move it along. So whether it's a physical element or an emotional, because we hold emotional traumas within our body. So whether they're moving that through or even just a physical stuck piece, they're moving it through. So you're having healing through an energy work.
Is it like sort of a massage with that? Like
it's hands off.
It depends. Oh,
yeah.
Okay,
so hands are above your body, and so they feel energy shifts. I think hot and cold shifts, and they kind of like move it away or help it move along.
Interesting. What's the training like for that?
Oh, I don't know, but they have to be certified.
Like certified.
Yeah, so I make sure
I
that they're
figured.
certified. Yeah, before they perform it. Yeah, and so we do have yoga Reiki, which is a combination of both. So we'll have that at our studio at least once or twice a month. And so the yoga practitioner will put you in restorative poses. So you're laying in a pose for a little while, and the Reiki practitioner comes around and does Reiki over your body while you're doing it.
Oh, interesting.
It's very meditative.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get into any, and probably just depends on your space, but like cold tub, sauna, that type of work?
I do not, but it sounds like you were talking to our physical therapist and massage therapist because they've been wanting one for the last several months. Yeah, so there is a place for that in healing for sure. Cold therapy and hot therapy. It's really good for your body. We just do not have it yet.
Yeah, I mean, those, at least we have an infrared sauna, and they're not that expensive, and they're so low maintenance. I mean, it plugs into a normal outlet. Just turn it on, give it like 45 minutes.
So good for you.
Yeah, and the UV ones too, the traditional ones are great, but they get like super hot. And like you can't have a metal water bottle with you or else that thing's going to be burning. But the UV ones, you sit, or infrared, not UV, sorry. You sit in there and all of a sudden you're like, feel like it's warm, it's not that warm. You just start sweating. Mm-hmm. And it heats up your body using the infrared light. And it's so easy to put somewhere. And, you read all these benefits. I mean, I've been doing it for a few years now, since I've moved back to New York. And I just think it's such an easy thing to do, especially for someone who's just needs that kickstart, right? Yeah. Sweating is so good for you.
It is.
So it's like, yes, it's not going to replace, high impact workout or, getting your heart rate up, things like that. But it does a little bit,
Sure.
and like I said, it's a good thing to get kickstarted. So
Yeah, it's great.
maybe that'll be my contribution to Salt City Holistic Health.
Well, thank you. We will accept.
Talk a little bit about, how to get in touch with you. You guys are, you're right by Sweet on Chocolate,
We are
right?
right above Adam on Sweet on Chocolate.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're right upstairs.
1 step forward, 2 steps backwards.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's the worst.
Chocolate's good for you.
You're coming down the stairs and you can smell them making the chocolate. Oh, it's so delicious.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're right on Walton, right above Sweet on Chocolate, across from Margaritas. You can see the sign right up front. We have a website. It's pretty interactive, so you can book anything you want that we offer through that website. And then our Instagram also is Salt City Holistic Health. We're pretty active on there, showing our offerings, yoga classes, that sort of thing.
Do you recommend doing a consultation first just to kind of...
Yeah, so if you want to be a patient of mine, what happens is there's a patient application. So you're going to go online, click the patient application, fill out sort of what you're looking for, a little bit of history on you. And our team gives you a call. And if we're a good fit, then we get you right scheduled. If you want to talk to me personally to make sure what your complaints are, what your ailments are, is something that I can fix, then I'll jump on a 15-minute free discovery call with you and talk you through what we do.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably be calling soon.
Yeah, we'll see ya.
That's it for this episode of Upstate Impact. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure to subscribe and share. Stay tuned for more stories from the people shaping upstate New York. See you next time.